What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to the channel. Today, jumping back into some Marvel Future Fight content. Head over and you'll see the 9th year anniversary pre-registration event. Please make sure you go over there and do that. Otherwise, you'll miss out on some really good rewards. Don't forget the April uniforms is, I think that's done now. I think you might have missed out. I think today's the last day. So make sure you head over there. But let's jump in here with the new update details for this 410 March mid-month patch that's coming. We talked about this in the last video, specifically with relation to two heroes who are getting a T4 and a tier 3, and it looks like I was right on the money with what they were going to do, which was very minimum and very little. Let's start out with the Maw. Yeah, so Ebony Maw, member of the Thanos' Black Orders, he's going to receive his tier 4 advancement, and Thane is going to receive his tier 3. It's going to be a rolling patch that will start around like 11 o'clock tonight, basically. And so basically you just need to reload your game till you get it. That's all it's going to be. So he's going to remain a supervillain blast type character. And let's take a look at what he's got inside here from. So the uniform effect that he's got is going to change a little bit, like very little. Exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like the increased basic damage here is going to dealt to universal types is by 40%. So yeah, so increased basic damage to universal type is just going to have that little 5% uptick on a uniform effect. I did say it would be beneficial if this carried over, and so it's a good idea that this carries over. Something that I wasn't really thinking about when I thought about this, because I don't really care about PvP, right, is the new place that we're playing is World Boss Legend Plus. And Black Swan is not a universal type. She's a speed type. So it's a little... So this is like basically saying like he's ready for PvP or some other type content, because this becomes all but worthless against Black Swan. So yeah, I don't know about that, man. I didn't think about it until I was like reading through the patch details. And now that I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that's a really lackluster thing there. Especially, all right, let's get into the rest of his stuff so that way I don't seem like I'm bitching about it anyways. So his applies to self, which was evil persuasion. He gets nothing really here but like another 5% bonus basically on the increased skill damage. That goes up to 45, and then this goes up to 35, so like 5% on his passive there. Yeah. Black Guards is now going to be called Voice of Darkness. He gains super armor and increase all basic defense, and then the mind damage stays at 30%, but he gets a 10% increase on the decreased basic damage received, which, like, okay, that's a significant little buff there in terms of like the 10%. And I wish the mind damage would have gone up likewise, but he's also getting the increase all basic defenses as well. So now let's take a look at his skills. Flame of Chaos is going to be called Pain Silver, and he keeps the paralysis on here. He gains 1 second on that immunity, and then he loses the burn, obviously, right? And he has mind damage is now going to be 75% of energy attack, but he gets the additional damage reduction of 130 to 138. So like you do the math and percentages wise there, right? Because percentage wise, it's a boost in 30%. But when you look at the mind damage, the additional mind damage, that's being reduced all the way down to 138 mind damage. So like all of the damage, not even all of the additional damage basically is being transferred into the mind damage. Yeah, we'll have to see how that works. So it's like it's not really the buff that it might look like by just seeing that 30% energy attack. Then we get Spreading Desperation, which is now going to be called Stone Crush. He gets stunned on this one. He keeps the incapacitation for 3 seconds. He gains applies to self 100% chance to grant all damage immunity, and then his mind damage is going to be 70% of energy attack, and it's going to be an additional 185 4 of minor damage. So that additional is basically slashed in half, and he's going to gain an additional 15% here on the mind damage. Basically, you're looking at that and saying like probably 5%, 10% of the damage. Like this is basically halved, right? The additional mind damage. So that's going to 184. Like, so you get what I'm saying? Like it's like a swaps. Smog control is now going to be called Mystic Puppeteer. This is interesting. He does gain time freezing on this ability with 4 seconds. He gets mind control for 5 seconds, which is already there. Actually, excuse me. And that's still going to stay at what it is. So it's the, 30 basic damage by 30%. And then it's going to be, so it's increased basic damage received by 30% inside of here, and then it's going to be stacks up to 50% ignores immunity. He does keep the recovery of recovery effect, but it goes up for 25% of his HP, which is what I thought they were going to do. That 100% chance to grant all damage immunity, like we said, that was basically moved to his second skill. And he gets now a barrier effect for 10 times, and then mind damage is 95% of energy attack and an additional 104 mind damage. So a little bit of a nerf there, right, in terms of that. So then we look at his next skill, Whirlwind Doom, is basically still Whirlwind Doom. He keeps the snare, but he gets another recovery of 25% HP on there for 1 second, so it's really instantaneous. And then he gets mind damage, 67% of energy attack, and an additional 110 mind damage. I'm hoping to God he's got the hits to back up these nerfs on his 3 and 4 skill. Then we look at his 5th skill, Meteor Explosion, is now going to be called Tactician's Bombardment. He gets the mind control on this, so he loses out on that burn. He gets the mind control, and then he gets incapacitation. Obviously, remove the effect, and hit this 10% of mind increase for 100%. Ignores immunity, and then applies to self. He keeps the invincible, but it's reduced from to 5 seconds. He gains 50% chance to penetrate. He has invincible, removes all debuffs, and then that frenzy buff basically goes 61 and 1. So a 10% increase for his basic attack, and then he gets the mind damage, 70% of energy attack, and an additional 92 mind damage on there. So a bit of a buff there on that skill. Now, his tier 4, Ebony Maw's tier 4 is, basically he's getting mind control for 1 second. I'm wondering if that's like a typo, but you can see here it increases basic damage received by 40%, unlike the other ones, which was 30%. And then he basically gets an increase all basic attacks by 50% and energy damage 200% of energy attack. So that lasts for 7 seconds. So I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, to be honest with you, to be honest with you guys, I was expecting maybe some additions and changes to the Maw's like leadership and stuff like that. When I started to think of at least like the buff increase here for his energy attack, I get it. Like he's supplying a pretty nice buff on the uniform effect, but I think that they should have did something more in terms of like him overall. By the way, I'm going to be honest with you, regardless of whatever's happening, it's probably going to be better for you to wait on these uniforms until the anniversary. So that way you can get the 50% off, unless they make these available as a 50% off. But I think the biggest probably kink in Ebony's introduction that I hadn't considered was the fact that uniform effect is not going to apply to it is just not going to apply to Black Swan. It's not going to apply. Like it's really not. And that's where you're pretty much putting your money at. He doesn't really necessarily seem like he's going to be any type of world beater inside PvP. So he looks like a PvE type character, and with the uniform effect basically there for him to just get the 40% HP, and then I don't know, like I'm gonna have to play him out to see exactly what value on him. I hope the uniform looks really good, but this might literally just be like a Shadowland Alliance Conquest kind of otherworld battle, maybe. I don't even think that really, but I'm not gonna play with a T4. Like, I mean, Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I have to wait to see. I have to wait to see. I'm trying not to feel pissed off about what they've done with the uniform and or what little they've done with the uniform there. Like you can see, this is the reason why I kind of try to show you guys the current effect versus the other effect. So that way, you know, as I talk it through, so that way you guys can see exactly the difference and how the things have essentially just been moved around. But anyways, let's get into Thane. Thane is going to get his first uniform at a tier 3. I've already given you guys my opinion on that. So let's see what he has inside of his kit that's going to hopefully make him better. Because he's got to have a lot if he's just getting a tier 3. That's the point, right? And I don't think it's there. So anyways, let's take a look at it, right? So his uniform effect that he's going to have is... he's going to have immunity to the incapacitation effect, and then he's going to have an increased fire damage by 30%. So all of Thane's attacks basically switch over from just being simple energy type attacks to being fire type attacks, because he is going to be imbued with the Phoenix Force power. I'm really dying to look to see how the whole uniform comes together inside of this one. But let's take a look down at the skills overall. So he is going to be receiving some upgrades and updates. Let's take, like, I thought that we might get an upgrade to his leadership ability, but no, it's going to basically stay the same. He gets to remove all debuffs inside of here. He gets to remove all debuffs. It's basically for 12 seconds. He gets to increase all basic attack for 12 seconds. The only really reduction here is that it goes from a cooldown of 25 seconds to a cooldown time of 20 seconds. So, you know, 10 seconds versus, you know, roughly 12 seconds is basically 13 seconds is what you're basically looking at there. So, okay, right. Then we go over to his Dark Instinct passive. This one is basically gaining super armor on there, so increase all basic defenses by 30%, and then he gets a buff on the skill damage and the bonus damage from 40 to 35. So nice 10% increase there for him. He still keeps the decreased basic damage received at 30%. It just is what it is, right? So let's go through his skills, because his other passive receives no update either. Like the Guide to Death basically was just a 70% chance to penetrate. There's no update to that. Like I was surprised about that. Like a passive that basically is on most people's skills. He keeps the passive still there for 10 seconds. So he's basically always have the penetrate skill, you know, because it's only on 5-second cooldown basically, you know. So let's take a look at his skills overall here. So the first skill, there's still nothing on here, right? He gets amberized on his first skill, which is like he encases like targets basically inside this amber shell, which basically amounts to a stun, right? It's just called amberized. And he gets the fire damage 40% of physical attack and an additional 107 fire damage. So like a big boost in terms of the additional damage and a slight 12% like reduction in terms of the fire damage of physical attack. So Cocoon Blast is now going to be called Soaring Sun. Inside of here, he gets the enables attacking, ignore targeting effect inside there, right? So that's nice. Looking like they want to place him in PvP. I just don't see how you place a tier 3 in PvP at this point. He has to be really powerful there for that. And so we get Burn on that skill. We all know what Burn does. He gets stunned for 1 second. He does get incapacitation as well on this skill. And he gets the fire damage is 100% of the physical attack and an additional 534. So that's on a 2 skill. That's really a powerful 2 skill that you're going to probably have to rotate into to play with him. So anyways, his third skill, Quiets His Beam, is now going to be called Phoenix Landing. He keeps that amberized, but only for an increase now of 3 seconds. He gets incapacitation on this skill as well. And then he gets that new mechanic Panic, which increases basic damage received by 30%. That's there for 3 seconds. And then he keeps the recovery effect, but is boosted like I thought it would be to 25% HP. He gets Barrier on this skill, which is 8 times for 5 seconds. He gets the nice Frenzy buff as well. So it increases all basic attack by 45, 1, and 35. He loses that 80% chance to grant all damage immunity. and then he essentially gets that fire damage of 80% of physical attack and an additional 356 fire damage. This is reduced to a cooldown time of 13 seconds. So like give or take 6 seconds, basically 6.5 seconds is what you're looking at, right? Tartarus Crash. So on Tartarus Crash is now going to be called Decaying Talon Strike. So we keep the burn. Burn stays the same, but it's a 30% additional fire damage. He gets another incapacitation. So this dude is like prime to just incapacitate targets and remove buffs. So maybe you throw him in there, you know, like where Strife is, you're throwing him in there and he's basically otherworld battling it. And, you know, hopefully he gets off a couple of hits at tier 3 to just remove buffs from targets and stuff like that. But it's just going to be a weird thing because how long is he going to really stay alive is the question. So we'll see. So anyways, on there for Tartarus Crash, we talking about delaying strike. So he gets the incapacitation again. He gets paralysis, which ignores immunity for 3 seconds. He gets another recovery effect on this one. So recovers 35% HP, and then he gets the 100% chance to grant damage, all damage immunity on this skill. So they basically moved from the 3rd skill to the 4th skill, that damage immunity, and then you basically get it for 100% with an increase there of 20%, right? So these are tactics, basically the barrier, the damage immunity. These things are helping him to stay alive. It's just a question of, can he stay alive? You're not playing him, unfortunately, in Otherworld Battle. You get what I'm saying? Like, you're not playing him, so it's going to be hard to keep him alive because it's just, you're watching a computer. Same thing with Alliance Conquest, right? You're just watching the game play. You have no impact on the game necessarily other than how you built the team, which is one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of PvP, right? So then we get then we get the frenzy buff that was on here. So that's going to be significantly increased because it goes from this 15, 1 and 15 to 60 all basic attack, and then all basic defense by 35, and then all speed by 1%. So he doesn't get the crit rate boost on here anymore, and they split out the basic attack and defense to 60 and 35 and the all speed by 1%. Like, that's really okay. And so then he gets the fire damage, 60% of physical attack, and an additional fire damage of 356. So you can look at it as like, you know, there's a 25% reduction in terms of the fire damage initially dealt, and then the additional damage is going up from that 29 to 356. Again, you can see how like the numbers are basically just being swapped. I'm not good at the math, but you can look at it and you can tell, right? I just like to point it out. So then we get his Amber Undeath is now going to be called Phoenix Supernova. We get Amberized for 3 seconds. We get the burn on this skill. We keep the Invincible, but it's increased for 6 seconds. We lose the Ignore Target dodge rate, and then we get a fire damage 90. I'm going to imagine this skill has to have a lot of hits. Has to have a whole lot going on it for it to be so simple, because the only other thing we gain on here is the panic for increased basic damage received by 30%. So then we look at it, we get fire damage is 90% of physical attack and an additional 356. So obviously this is his first uniform. This was going to be a boon no matter what for him. The problem is the space where he's being introduced with this boon, because he is only going to be a tier 3. And it's not like, you know, this dude was a native 2 or anything like that. So it's going to be really weird to see how powerful he can be any of those modes, basically, you know, essentially. So he is going to receive his tier 3, like I said, and we'll take a look at that tier 3 right now. I always like to make sure you guys get a look at that. So this is the tier 3 animation. So basically on this tier 3 is called the power of 2. So to be honest with you, I wasn't necessarily like overwhelmed or excited by this tier 3 animation, but you can see he's using 2 skills to basically gather, and he gets Amberize, Panic, and then he gets Ignore Target's dodge rate by 80%, Invincible for 8 seconds, and increased basic damage by 100% for 1 attack. Now they've thrown on Invincible, they've thrown on Ignore Damage Immunity, they've given him barriers, they've given him plenty of ways to stay alive other than, you know, the levels needed, because those levels between 70 and 80 are pretty significant. And to be fighting tier 4 characters, I don't know. Maybe what they need to implement is something like they've implemented in their other game modes, where, you know, you have like characters who don't have like a PvP type mode where everything is equal, you know what I mean? Like being like you got tier 4, you got tier 3 characters, or you get characters that are just at these levels so that way you can use them. They don't have artifacts, they don't have they don't have custom gears, they don't have ISO 8s or something like that. So that way it just becomes a matter of these skills versus these skills, these power levels versus these power levels. So almost like an ungeared PvP in a sense, you know, so that way you can see those things out. But this is the time that for them, they should be investing in other PvP elements, because right now 2 or 3 of the PvP elements are basically you just watching the screen do everything for you. So now the artifacts are pretty interesting as well, but not as interesting. So let's take a look at those real quick, because you can see here that, you know, obviously Thane is built for PvP, and he gets to ignore non-boss enemy damage decrease by 25%. So that's other characters basically, right? And then the Maw gets a nice bonus to Black Order allies. So he gets the additional increased basic damage dealt to superhero and supervillain faction. The only problem is, let's go inside here real quick and take a look at the lineup list in here. So we want to see all characters inside here. Now, where are you at? There we go, Black Order. So unfortunately, wait a minute, I hate when BlueStacks does it. It only does it on BlueStacks too. I don't know why. There we go. So these are your Black Order cast, right? This is the whole host of Black Order people. So you're basically saying that, you know, I'm going to get this artifact. I'm just not using any of these characters, unfortunately, right now. So unless these characters are receiving upgrades here in the near future, you have very low value on his artifact, with the exception of maybe Black Swan. It applies to all allies, so you know it could be a benefit for her, especially if she gets a tier 4 at some point. Hopefully they have that in the work. Otherwise, there's no real reason to use her. There's no real reason to use Proxima, Hypergiant, Corvus Glaive, or what the hell is my man's name? Cole Obsidian. There's no real reason to utilize these characters, because why would I power these characters up with his artifact bonus and his uniform bonus? You know, the uniform effect does apply to universal to all allies, and then he gets this one which applies to Black Order allies. But it just, none of these characters are being currently used in PvP. You're not using any of these characters inside PvE as well, especially inside World Boss Legend content. So yeah, I get it that they still have to take in consideration that they have World Boss Ultimate, but let's be honest, most people are just trying to grind past that really quickly, and it's an obsolete game mode. But you know, I guess I'll keep it lingering around. Yeah, so I don't know what to think about that. There are some you know, some events that are also going on right now, or that is going to start. So we get the update hero 1 of 6 artifact chance up event that's going to basically be happening inside the game. So you know, the previous characters that we received, you can acquire 5 to 6 star artifacts inside here. I don't really pull for artifacts unless I just get the, you know, I have the dimension, whatever, the essence of dimension to basically play the game. Yeah, I don't really do paid for artifacts inside there. We also have the Black Order update event. I really like this little, you know, this inside of here. So this is CM Fragment to celebrate the addition. They're basically going to have a 40% discount applies to all uniforms. So this is like kind of like dumped, right? Like I think they should have been smart about this, because now I don't really have a reason to go in there and immediately purchase these uniforms other than to produce content for you guys. But if you are producing, you know, getting these, it's probably better to wait and get the 50% off from the 9th year anniversary sale instead of trying to purchase this right now. To be honest with you, at the looks of these uniforms, I might even do the same thing and just delay content. Like to be honest with you, like, you know, my subscriber count isn't really helping me to basically make these purchases, so everything's just on me at this point to make them purchases. So it's like yeah, I'd be purchasing it to do what with, because my suggestion to you is that you don't purchase these uniforms. Nothing about these uniforms are absolutely like must grabs. You know what I mean? At least at this point from looking at them, but maybe I'll probably purchase them anyways. But then you can see there's the event quest inside here basically every day, and you're basically going to be able to get the same things that you normally would be: the dimension chest, the premium comment card, the tier 2 mega advancement ticket, and the black order event quest selector as well inside here. There's a new icon inside there for the special incursion queen, a special icon, incursion queen. It looks like Black Swan is in there. I can't really tell who the character is. There's also going to be the hero growth bonus missions for Thane and for Maul, and the uniform upgrade missions inside there. We got the Black Order update 7-day check-in event. You know, hey, we're getting the boost points inside of there, makes your life a little bit easier. The gold bonus missions inside of here, which they still doesn't look like they've really reworked these. They really need to rework these. We get the artifact unequipped cost for 50% discount. I did recently get lucky, and I got who did I get? I got Beta Ray Bill's 6-star artifact. So now I've got to level up Beta Ray Bill. So I guess that's the one good thing about this update. I know I'm not going to T4 Ebony Maul, so I can essentially go to T4 Beta Ray Bill. So that's good. Cause you get a 6-star artifact for a character. Might as well upgrade them, right? And then we get the character ranking event for Thane inside of here as well. So there's that. And then don't forget the 9-year anniversary pre-registration is open. So if you don't do it, you're kind of missing out on pre-registration rewards. So you can see here, just for registering, the pre-registration schedule is from 4/9 to 4/29, or 4/8, you know, Pacific time, which was yesterday, to 4/29. And this is the acquisition schedule. So between the 29th to May 14th, you're going to basically be able to collect pre-registration events of 900 crystals, 9 million gold, and then a transcendent character selector. So the really cool thing about this is in addition to the rewards that you're going to get in the countdown, which we went over yesterday, which were already good. So this is a really good bonus up, not to mention you get that potential transcendent character. You can see the characters available to you here. I still think probably Moon Knight, Doc Ock, yeah, Moon Knight, Doc Ock, Spider-Gwen, and that's it. Like, realistically, that's it. So out of that listing right there, I would probably say Moon Knight, Doc Ock, and then maybe at the bottom least is Angel, because he does receive his tier 4. Those are going to be probably the highlights. Oh, I did forget Shadow Shell as well, because she can go tier 4 as well, but probably lower on the list. So top priorities probably would definitely be Moon Knight, Doc Ock, Angel, and then or Shadow Shell and then Angel, depending on how you look at them comparatively. But those are characters that are available to you inside of here. I would definitely highly take a look at those, and it's a good reward. It's free rewards, and then you get to level up any of those characters if you don't already have the 4 that I probably just suggested. Oh, excuse me, and Spider-Gwen as well. I forgot about Spider-Gwen. Is definitely at the top. Moon Knight, Doc Ock, Spider-Gwen, Angel, and then Shadow Shell, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Please, guys, hit that like and subscribe. I'm trying to get the channel up to 1,000 subscribers. So please do that. Hit that like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Until next time, peace.